So recently I bought 10 best moments of Marvel's Scarlet Witch, and you seem to have been taking a liking to the red-robed Wanda Maximoff. Anyway, same pinch. And now that we know that this dynamic femme fatale is so loved, we brought about another 10 moments where our red-robed witch pulls out a tantrum or sometimes literally rips your heart out. Let's go. Getting all the adrenaline pumping, first off, we have the race to beat Ultron in Novigrad. Remember Ultron? That beautiful, theatrical, warp-minded peacekeeping program. You rise only to fall, he said. True to his words and ambitions, he lifted Novigrad into the sky only to plummet it back to Earth. Wanda fares well at first, protecting the civilians and guiding them to safety, but she'd never actually been in a real battle. All this time, she slinked her way in and out of fights through her mental manipulations, but in Sokovia, she was thrown into the heart of a crazy, chaotic battle. This was overwhelming for her, especially given her childhood trauma. No wonder she slunk into a breakdown. Good thing family man Hawkeye was around, and a little pep talk was all Scarlet Witch needed to get back on her feet. Leaving her past behind, she steps out as a fully fledged Avenger. She protects civilians from Ultron's sentries and starts taking them down like it's nobody's business. This girl is definitely the captain of her destiny.
The twins.
Sooner or later, they will meet the twins.
Imagine being a 10-year-old stuck in a bombed house, staring at a mortar shell, the name Stark Industries staring back for 2 long days. That kind of experience gives a lifetime of trauma and an overly generous dollop of hatred. The length she was willing to go to shows just how she wanted to see the end of the Avengers. She was willing to be experimented on for simply a sliver of a better chance against them. The trauma fueled an anger that burned bright in her mind. We get a glimpse of Scarlet Witch from the mid-credit scenes of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, sitting in a glass cage. This new character seems a bit off. Actress Elizabeth Olsen described her character as being unstable. Not mentally unstable though, she was just overly stimulated since she could connect to parallel worlds at the same time. Judging by Wanda's short display of her powers, we guessed that a nasty storm was brewing for the Avengers, a storm that ripped them from the inside.
That's why you let Stark take the scepter.
I didn't expect. But I saw Stark's fear.
Every Avenger had their run with the other side. Hawkeye fought for Loki, Natasha fought for Lord knows who, and even Captain America became a criminal. So let's cut Scarlet Witch some slack for siding with Ultron. Who could blame the twins when Ultron was the picture of ambitious grandeur? It's hard not to buy into his ideas, the way he explains his apocalyptic path cloaked in plans of saving the world. Deep down though, it's clear that the Scarlet Witch doesn't want revenge on the world. She simply thought that Ultron would bring peace to the people. That was evident in the way she reacted when she figured out Ultron's true plans, which we'll talk about in a while. Despite being unable to read Ultron's mind, Scarlet Witch bonded with him from the start. His disdain towards the Avengers, and specifically Tony Stark, resonated with her own hatred. Wanda was disgusted at the way the Avengers kept the peace. Through her perspective, they killed more than they saved, so a plan to kill them off was fine by her.
You and I can hurt them, but you will tear them apart.
Thor, status.
The girl tried to warp my mind.
They say that your head's the only thing in your way. Your head certainly gets in the way of a good many things when all your worst fears are laid bare by someone who can manipulate minds and bend reality. Nope. We're not talking about Thanos with the gauntlet, but if the thought did cross your mind, it says a great deal about how powerful Scarlet Witch is, right? Ultron was right. Pietro and he could only hunt the Avengers down, but Wanda could tear them apart from the inside. True to this, Wanda manages to bring down the entire team, forcing them to run for the hills and hide in Hawkeye's home. She laid bare everyone's fear. One moment you're battling off bots, and the next minute you're living in your worst fears and regrets. Whatever happens, Scarlet Witch completes her mission. Even though Hawkeye gave her a headache of the century with a taser arrow, she pulled off the mission with a flare, channeling all her rage into provoking the Hulk into one of his worst tantrums.
I want the big one. Are you not letting me leave?
It is a question of safety.
I can protect myself.
Not yours.
They fear what they can't understand, and let alone other humans. Even Wanda herself doesn't understand or know the extent of her powers. Mental energy manipulations, telekinesis, force field generation, these are just a few of her powers, but these alone are enough to make people fear her, and accidentally blowing up a building didn't help her case at all. As much as she enjoyed Vision's alleged paprikash, or making it at least, it broke her heart to learn that Stark had grounded her to prevent further damage, not to her, but from her.
Mr. Stark would like to avoid the possibility of another public incident.
Although she despises the idea of being locked up, at this point, it's evident that Wanda had given up. She'd always blamed herself for the destruction in Sokovia, and the incident in Nigeria just worsened her guilt. We can see how she slowly resigns herself to the fact that she's a danger to everyone else.
And what do you want?
For people to see you as I do.
There are no shortcuts, even if your magic gem comes.
Scarlet Witch could never read Ultron's mind. As enticing as his words were, she was somewhat wary of his ways. Ultron was, at the end of the day, a creation of Tony Stark. Her curiosity was sparked when Ultron started uploading his consciousness. She looked into his mind at the first chance she got, and she was shocked at his destructive plans. All Wanda wanted was peace. The trauma she went through pushed her to fight for freedom, but Ultron's plan involved global slaughter. No matter what kind of hatred she had towards the Avengers, she couldn't stomach the idea of innocents being killed by thousands. Ultron was devastated when they left. Given his ramblings after he captured Natasha, it's clear he felt abandoned without the twins. It is lonely at the top, Ultron. Walking out on Ultron was the first step on Wanda's path to being an Avenger.
Wait, guys!
Battles in Wakanda were nothing less than glorious. Remember the end fight of Black Panther? The Infinity War was of course much different from the last battle fought on Wakandan turf. For those of you who already forgot the Avengers and their battles, shame on you. The Black Order was pulling out all the stops to collect the final Infinity Stone for Thanos, and the Avengers weren't backing down. Looking down on the battlefield, Wanda realized that as much as she loved Vision, the battle needed her more. The Threshers were out, and Scarlet Witch finally realized that her place in the battlefield was an invaluable asset and not as a chaotic liability. Scarlet Witch took the oncoming Threshers head on, throwing them into the air, making Okoye wonder why they kept her in the lab all this time.
Why was she up there all this time?
She even managed to kill the lethal Proxima Midnight. We can all agree that Wanda came a long way, from breaking down in the middle of a battle to destroying the man she loved to save the world.
Wanda, if you stay here, you'll die.
I just did.
From allies to enemies, Scarlet Witch and Ultron had a twisted journey. Towards the end, only a handful of Ultron sentries remained and his plans were all but ruined. Having lost everything, including whatever remained of his warped sanity, Ultron was shooting around like a maniac. We brace ourselves alongside Hawkeye, but then stare in shock at Pietro's dead body. At that moment, something snaps in Wanda. As she makes her way towards Ultron, the pain's evident on her face. This scene singles out the strange bond between Ultron and Scarlet Witch. This scene comes to a heartbreaking end with Wanda giving new meaning to ripped out his heart.
I don't know how you're gonna get it through all of that.
Don't worry.
She's got help.
The final battle of the Endgame was one of the most epic moments of the whole franchise. I'm going to go out on a limb here and confess that it's one of the best scenes in the history of movies. And one of the screen-worthy moments of this monumental scene is the all-female shot. In a battle to save a gazillion lives across the universe, everyone brought their A-game. Even uptight Pepper Potts was suited up. Poor little Peter Parker was overwhelmed, to say the least. After all those years, Vision's murder was still fresh in her memory. We already know that she fiercely protects the ones she loves. With perfect control of her powers, she unleashes all her pent-up anger and pain on the Mad Titan, nearly choking the life out of him. Now, you might not remember this, but Wanda was the first to appear beside Captain America in the scene. From being someone who worried 24/7 to assuring others not to worry, the Scarlet Witch certainly harnessed her confidence along the way.
Wanda, I think you hurt Vision's feelings.
You locked me in my room.
Okay, first, that's an exaggeration. Second,
I did it to protect you.
What better way to tick a teenager off than by locking them in their room? And who better to play Made You Look with than the mind-manipulating Scarlet Witch? Mix these together and you'll get the scene that's topping off our list today. The way Wanda throws herself into the fight, it's clear that her fears of using her powers have gone away a little. It also helped that the airport was evacuated, so no civilians were in harm's way. This scene probably made some car lovers' stomachs turn, but for Wanda, it was a moment of taking charge. She knew that what she was doing would further label her as a dangerous criminal, but she was done worrying about labels once and for all. This may be a small scene compared to the head-turning fights at the airport, but it was a massive moment for Scarlet Witch. She was done pulling her punches in fear of what the world might think of her. She was all in to fight everything she had for what she believed and stood for. With that, we reached the end of the list. Also, remember, this is Volume 2, so click the card on the top right to check out Volume 1 as well. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and comment below for your favourite Scarlet Witch scenes. And I'll see you next time on the TV Regent.